on the show. And today we have Sree Iyer. How are you, Sree?
Namaskar to you, Sanjay ji, Vibhuti ji. I am doing very well. Thank you for inviting me to your platform. Off to you. कुछ तो आपने मसाला ढूंढा है जो बहुत ही it's
अभी
doing
तो
extremely
हम
well.
मसाला डोसा from the south. डोसा.
और as the saying goes, अभी तो पार्टी शुरू हुई है. जैसे
अभी तो
संजय
party
जी
शुरू हुई है.
Northern
So,
India, Southern India joining
so
hands, we will
Southern India.
remove every non-Indian from here.
Yes, yes.
So what's happening over there? I believe there is a big churn going on, and this gentleman called Annamalai is really making things happen.
Absolutely.
Is it hype, or there is something to it?
You know, you have to understand first of all what's happening in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu, and perhaps to a certain extent Andhra and Karnataka and Kerala, but Tamil Nadu is absolute. The entire movie industry is in the grip of DMK. The entire media, print as well as TV, is in the grip of DMK. I mean, they completely set the narrative and they rule the roost. This is how they came to power in 2019. If you remember, sir, with the exception of O. Pannirselvam's son, they got all the Lok Sabha seats, that coalition with Congress. They completely got it. And then after that, somebody, I believe the son-in-law of M.K. Stalin, got the brainwave that they should involve Prashant Kishore in the 2021 state assembly elections. And Prashant Kishore went to work. One of his SOPs is to try and find every friction point in every constituency, and then try to create a way to optimize that or maximize that to your advantage. So this is how that happened, and DMK won. They consistently won across the state with slim margins, which is amazing. They got, I think, 33%, and I think ADMK got 32 or 31%. It was that close. Yet, if you look at the final result, these guys had a huge mandate, 133 or 137 out of 234. So amazing mandate for them. Now, what had happened was Annamalai had contested in his native constituency from where he belongs, and he lost. But what happened after that is something that is just simply miraculous. Why I say this is because this is one of the most religious states, Sanjay ji and Vibhuti ji. You have to come and see it, really. I mean, sometimes you'll have a Ganesha statue in every house in a street. अगर घर में अगर एक विधि में 10 घर होंगे, हर एक घर में सामने एक छोटा सा एक गणेश होता है, वहां पर आकर लोग they'll do puja in the morning. Their day starts with, we say Sri Ganesh kiya jaye, so that's how they are. It is such a religious state, and yet two irreligious parties, ADMK and DMK, were ruling the roost for so many years. To be able to change the narrative, in fact, in a very short time, Annamalai not only changed the narrative, but he also set the narrative going forward. And now what is happening is the DMK is seeing that they are completely out of touch. They are not able to pull the narrative back in their side. Remember, all this he did without the help of mainstream media. It's all based on YouTube channels and the fact that he goes and connects with people at a one-on-one level. He's one of the more genuine candidates as I have seen, as genuine as somebody like your next door neighbor who you've known for a long time. That vibes he gives out. And I have to tell you a little bit about his story. Now, any questions thus far, Sanjay ji?
No, go ahead.
No, please carry on. We are at ease.
Annamalai in a previous life was an IPS officer. He was from the Karnataka cadre, and he has been well known as the Singham of wherever he goes. I think the last posting that he had was Singham of Mangaluru, and he has really earned the trust of the people and the police. And he brought about some amazing reforms in even as he was working as an IPS officer. For instance, he felt that the constabulary, the constables and below, they were overworked, and he got a mandatory system that made them take a day off in a week. Meaning, these people are working practically 24/7. So he said no. He computerized the program. The guy got the day off automatically, and he took that thing. So there are lots of such small reforms that he ushered in while he was an IPS officer. Then what is supposed to have happened is, what is believed to have happened is, he wanted to kind of go into a discovery mode. Who am I? What am I on earth for? I mean, many of us get these questions asked of us. You and I, perhaps, we got that when we retired, and we decided that I shall now have my own online channel, or I shall be a writer, I shall be an intellectual, whatever. This man, at the age of 30.
I started well before retiring.
Okay, all right. and Annamalai, at the very young age of 34 or 35, he took a trip to Mount Kailash. And he says that trip changed him. He came back. I don't know if he contacted BJP at that point or not, but he quit his job, and then he got into politics. His first foray as a politician was to contest the 2021 elections, which he lost. But the sincerity came through. I'll give you an example. In his constituency, there was a Muslim organization, some Jamaat, that passed an order that for a particular area, which was mostly Islamist locate, where mostly Muslims live, that this man can't even come and campaign. And he took them on. He said, look, you want to argue Quran with me? Send me your best expert. I not only know Quran, I know Hadith, I know Surah, I know everything there is to know. Let us see who wins. And that kind of scared them. And also, this was giving him a lot of publicity. So they withdrew that order. But they made sure.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, please continue.
No, they made sure that nobody voted for him. That is why he lost. I mean, if you look at some of the booths in that area, if there were 705 votes cast, there were 5 cast for Annamalai. It was that bad at start. And when he asked some of his supporters, because many used to come and talk to him one-on-one and say, we will vote for you. And then after the election day, when he asked them, what happened? Why did you not vote for me? He said, sir, this booth information is so closely followed that if any of us voted, then we'll be singled out, and the punishment is very severe. So what happens is, when you go through counting, Sanjay ji, you may know this better, that you get booth-wise distribution of votes.
I know that's a huge problem, and we have been telling that we should have a totalizer. But that totalizer thing has been pending because even the BJP doesn't want it. It makes them easier. It makes it easier for them to target the booths. It makes it easier for everybody to target the booth. So they are not interested. Sessions had started this. This mixing of ballot papers was started by Session. But once these electronic voting machines came, then they had to do it booth-wise. But then the Election Commission proposed a totalizer, and they got a totalizer that could total 32 machines at one time. But that requires amendments in the laws that the governments are not willing to do. Neither Congress wanted to do it, nor does the BJP want.
The polity in Tamil Nadu is one of those very difficult to understand. Every DMK politician, every ADMK politician is a great believer in astrology, numerology, any ology you can think of. They will look 10 times to see the right time to go and submit their nomination papers. They'll always go to anything with double check time. Mahurat acha hai kya? Only then they'll go and take it. Yet, in public utterances, they will say, we are following Periyar, who was an atheist. And then they say, we use what is called as, this is Periyar's land, all sorts of phony baloney. I can tell you that. Because these people are totally hypocritical. They're totally opposite, including Mr. Stalin. Stalin, when somebody came and put Vibhuti on his forehead after doing puja in front of a temple, he just wipes it off right in front of people's view. And the reason is they have done the math, sir. They figure they have 10% Christian vote, 10% Muslim vote, that is 20%. They need 33% to win. The other 13%, they are going to scrounge here and there. They'll figure out some way to get that thing. This is exactly the math they have done. And in exchange for that, see how things are playing out in Tamil Nadu. The entire government appears to be controlled by Christian lobby. And now suddenly the Waqf board has started laying claims to a lot of properties, and they can't produce proper proof. And they cite the 1995 Waqf Act. And now you're also seeing this play out in many states. Delhi, for example, UP, everybody is suddenly jumping up and down about this. So what I'm trying to say is DMK is completely beholden to these two religious groups, because they keep reminding him, आप हमारी भीख पर आए हैं. These are the exact words used by a guy called George Ponaya.
I know.
So
there are some very sleazy videos going around.
Yes. So
about George Ponaya. Very
yeah,
sleazy.
absolutely.
Somebody sent it to me. I can't use it.
So this government is so it has 4 or 5 factions, and I'll tell you why. Stalin is not doing very well health-wise. He has a health problem. He's expected to leave for a 3 to 4 month leave of absence, and in that time he can't just run it from wherever he is. He's going to have to appoint an interim CM. The candidates are his son, his son-in-law, and his wife. Guess who's going to win this?
Well, it depends on who these people are following. If somebody is a good and astute follower of Chandra Babu, then I think son-in-law will win. And
So this is the dilemma in front of him, and it is expected that he'll leave next month. And so what is happening now is all these factions are now trying to strengthen their bases by trying to say that I am more Dravida than all of you, and so on and so forth. So some outrageous statements, including from the former communications minister, Mr. A. Raja, just mind-boggling why somebody who has occupied such important positions. In fact, you can see him chairing some parliamentary proceedings. The parliamentarians should act against him. That's not the way you talk. It was completely divisive, and it was very abhorrent what he said. So anyway, that is the one side. Now you go and ask the voter, Hare, you go to temple every day, you put Vibhuti, you go to the pilgrimage places, which deity has to be considered special. उस दिन उनके पास अभिषेक होता है, वहां जाते हैं आप. तो फिर जाकर क्यों DMK को वोट करते हैं? You know what the logic they give? That is different, this is different. हाँ, ये कैसे हुआ?
okay.
So, but for the first time, even under the worst regime of Mr. Karunanidhi, they did not, destroy temples the way this government is doing. And I think that this is going to be this government's undoing. And then, amidst all this, Annamalai came, and I think for once the BJP center did a good thing. They appointed a very clean guy and told him, "Here are the keys to the state. You take out whoever you want, you appoint whoever you want. I want to make a clean administration." And Annamalai has gone about setting his house in order. He is very articulate, and some of his press conferences, Sanjay ji, Vibhuti ji, people ask rocket science questions at him, not about the topic he talks about. And he is able to still answer that. The guy has information on his fingertips. Very, very impressive. I'm telling you, this man is cut out for larger things than just being the chief minister of Tamil Nadu. At one point, I wouldn't be surprised if he occupies the highest position in the land. That's how much I've seen. I've seen a lot of his videos. The sincerity comes through. And he is extremely polite. Even on the guy who is, MCBCing him, he's always saying, Bade bhai, chote bhai, whatever it is, he's always courteous, very courteous. Only recently, when DMK started really going after them with, bad language, some of them have started giving it back to them. And then suddenly those guys saying, how come you are also using our language? I said, why? We are not supposed to use it? That's how we'll make you shut up. And so this is the thing. DMK is getting into a lot of these kinds of problems where they are unable to see the turn off what of the heat that Annamalai's statements are doing. He's very quickly onto many of the land scams that these guys are doing. Not just land scams. Also, there's a electricity scam. There is DMK has, in my opinion, done PhD in how to perform corruption. If you remember Sarkaria Commission, he said this is the most scientific form of corruption that I've ever seen in my life, when he was investigating DMK in the 70s. So these guys are completely out for themselves. They will do whatever it takes to steal some money. And in that scenario, he has come in and he's making a huge difference. Recently, I saw him preside over a book by a noted scientist called Gautam Desiraju. The name of the book is Bharat 2.0. All he's saying, Gautam, in that is that he says our constitution needs to change. And he has a lot of changes. And then one of the things that makes a lot of sense to me is that he said India needs to be created as 75 states. And all these 75 states should have more or less the same population. And you have to use other reasons than what it is today, linguistic reason, to make these states. Anyway, these may not happen. But he was at that book function. And you know what he said? He went into his theistic side. He said, do you know how a sculptor sculpts a statue so smoothly that perhaps only a lathe machine can do it today? Today there is lathe machines. These guys did it 1,000 years ago. How did they do it? So he explained the process of what a sculptor takes before he starts working on the stone. I mean, there are only single stones, sir. If you got one mistake, the entire edifice has to be thrown away. So what he says was that the sculptor whose turn it is to work, he goes through some sort of a deep nishtha. For 5 days, that person doesn't eat. No food at all. As you stop starving, as you start starving yourself, each day you find a new version of yourself. And at the 5th day, you have completely become egoless. You've become, you've completely let go of all your other worldly needs and thoughts. And you have that ekagrata, the focus, the concentration to take up the sculpting. And then they start working on sculpture. I have done a lot of work. I do a lot of, hangouts with people who are experts in all these art. Nobody has explained to me how the sculptures, the carvings are so smooth. And it is because of this kind of, self-examination, self-cleansing process. And he talked about that. And he's also a practicing Sabarimala devotee. Because in Tamil Nadu, you have to walk a very fine line. If you say totally pro-Hindutva, that can also be counterproductive. So he is saying that I am a Hindu, I am religious. At the same time, he's still being able to talk the language of the DMK, the ADMK, and hit them back in the same language. So these are some of the main characteristics and attributes that I've seen of him. And he seems to me that, to be really genuine. And he's also gone about it the right way. I'll tell you what the right way, in my opinion, is. If you want to really become serious in a place like Tamil Nadu, where their electioneering is a very evolved form, you have to have a BJP person manning every booth. And that BJP person shouldn't be imported from some other place. He has to live in that particular street for which that booth is there. He needs to know every person in every house in that particular block. Are they genuine? If not, are they coming in from somewhere to vote? Because they should be able to stop them at the time of voting. Every election in Tamil Nadu is decided by a very, very thin margin. So in such a case, you have to be able to get these things right. And he is going about doing that. He's not trying to bring in ADMK cadre. He's not trying to bring in DMK cadre to try and say, okay, now I have all these people who will be my booth people. He is doing it on his own. He's trying to build it from within. And 65% of Tamil Nadu is, I think, less than 25 or something like that. Very young population. So he is able to appeal to them. And I believe that Modi and Amit Shah have really scored a winner. It will take some time for the results to show, but the right start has been made.
That sounds amazing. Looks like we'll have to start learning Tamil very soon because we would like to understand what he's saying because all his videos are in Tamil. Vibhuti Ji?
This is a fabulous explanation that you gave about Tamil politics. But I draw an inquiry with you from what you said. And one of the things is that Tamil Nadu politics is like, for example, Stalin is choosing between his wife, son, and son-in-law. This falls into the family limited partnership agenda, like Lalu Yadav had between him, Tejasvi, and his wife, Rabdi. So this is, or Shiv Sena in Mumbai. Do I see a clear vacuum happening because of the absence of AIDMK leadership crisis, Stalin being what it is, DMK being what it is, and there are no more MGR and Shivaji Ganeshan type of actors who had their own pull. So Tamil Nadu politics has been very strongly dominated by movie industry and the political leadership of the kind DMK, the Dravid part of it. Where is Annamalai filling up the vacuum? Is the timing perfect for a new horizon to be visible?
Well, the timing is right. The challenge for him would be, like what I said, at the booth level, how much of mobilization the BJP cadre is able to do and try to convince some of the voters. Many will be first-time voters, Vibhuti Ji, first-time voters.
Yeah.
People who did not like DMK used to go and vote for ADMK. That is how it was. And with Stalin getting weaker by the day, the next time around when elections come, it will be completely new leadership in DMK. And EPS may be okay, but he's not in the same charismatic category as Annamalai. I think Annamalai has really got something going for him. And these guys are, DMK are trying to project Udayanidhi Stalin's son, as a successor. And that guy, I don't think he'll last more than 2 minutes on a debate. Annamalai is very deep. He knows his stuff. And you have to be able to do this thing because some of us are blessed with photographic memory, Vibhuti Ji. I'm sure you've seen this. They'll read something once and they'll know exactly what line what. He is that kind of a person. He's amazing in terms of being able to absorb so much material and be able to recollect that without errors. So something like that is difficult to match. However, this is not it gives you the entry point. That's why I say he's charismatic. Now, from taking that charisma and converting it into votes and to seats and to power, it's going to take quite a bit of work. I think he's cut out for it. He lives a very Spartan life. And it is just how much the populace believes in him. And the way DMK has been going about, I don't know if you two have been following it. Recently, 75 people gathered in the Kapalishwara temple in Chennai to talk about increasing engagement of normal people with temples. In other words, we don't just go to temple on a Friday or a Thursday or a Saturday or a day, just pray for 5 minutes and go away. Why don't we start having maybe some of our hangouts there when we meet our friends? Why don't you meet at the temple, you pray. Afterwards, you're supposed to sit for a few minutes and reflect. Then you do it. So these kinds of ideas were being floated around. And guess what the DMK government is doing? It is going to be sending them all FIR, saying that this is illegal assembly. I said, great. This is great.
If that becomes a point of resistance, then.
Yes. Well, if it happens, then somebody can go to the court and cite this particular verdict and say nobody should be sitting on the roads on Fridays. Nobody should be assembling on Sundays in churches. Well, it's the same thing. So anyway, so these kinds of, I don't know, bone-numbing decisions are coming down the DMK government's pipe. And this is only going to make people even more resolute to not vote for these people. So anyway, we have to wait and see. And in fact, one of the people in that is M.R. Venkatesh. The other one is Uma Anandan, who's the lone BJP corporator in Chennai. By the way, Sanjay ji, you'll be surprised
I've interviewed her a couple of times. Yes.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful lady, sir. Wonderful lady. Now, you will be surprised to know, Sanjay ji, I don't know, you probably already know this. In the municipal elections, BJP came second, 31% of the vote.
Yeah.
So ADMK is completely gone in at least in some areas in Chennai. So there is hope for Annamalai. But
And
31%
I also
doesn't.
see a hope coming from these, sometimes the decisions taken by political parties are totally foolish, and it benumbs your mind, and it kind of creates an awareness. So now Hindu mind awakens a little slowly, and because of this constant destruction of temples that is happening in Tamil Nadu, where I've been to Tamil Nadu, Chennai many times. I've traveled in many parts of Chennai as well, Tamil Nadu as well. And the temple architecture is just about divine. So when you begin to threaten the temple architecture and temples who do nothing to you, regardless of whatever your belief is, there is a resistance building up. And the second part also is that the Waqf board incident, that 1995 amendment, which has virtually declared the whole country at the mercy of some goons, the Congress party needs to be treated as a traitor, and people are now feeling ashamed of that entire scenario. Who let this happen, and why nobody is suing the parties and nobody is arising against that? So how did that happen? How did those MPs and MLAs allow the whole thing to happen, and nobody was educated about it? It emerges silently. I think that is a very strong resistance point everywhere in the country today, that this is the highest injury done to the community that you and I belong to. Your thoughts on that?
I didn't follow the India's politics in 1995 that closely. I was chasing my career and dreams and so on. Sanjay ji, आपको पता है क्या हुआ? Why did PV Narasimha Rao draft his Waqf board bill? Was it just to shore up the minority vote?
Oh well, it was some kind of a quid pro quo for keeping the mullahs in check in return for not making things difficult for him after the Babri mosque demolition.
So country को ही दे दिया वापस उनको.
And they did not just one. This is not the only one they did. They brought in the Minorities Commission.
Yeah.
That was immediately before the demolition. Before that, they brought in the Places of Worship Act. That was in 1991. Then in 1993, they brought in that Ayodhya Act, acquisition of certain areas. Ayodhya Acquisition of Certain Areas Act. That was 1993. Then they did this Waqf Act 1995. But lo and behold, they did it with the support of BJP.
Yes.
That's
So
1995 Act.
that is a stunner, isn't it?
And the 2013 amendment. They are both with the help of the BJP. So that just shows how much RSS and BJP understand Islam.
DNA same है ना सब?
DNA same है. और अभी तो our great Sir Sangachalak ji is meeting Muslim intellectuals, including former Vice Chancellor of the AMU, which actually the I should say the epicenter of vivisection of India.
So elder brother of Nasiruddin Shah.
Yes.
He's been implicated in a lot of corruption scandals also.
So what? बकरा और भेड़िया ये एक साथ रहेंगे. DNA एक है.
Very sad, sir. Very, very sad.
Yes. So we were talking about Annamalai. Is there? Before that, let me request everybody to throw in the questions, please. You can do it through Super Chat. You can do it through WhatsApp. and also reminding everybody that the annual event, our annual summit, Jaipur Dialogues, is on 5th and 6th November, and it is in Jaipur Hotel Clark's Amer, and the registrations are open. All of you can register yourselves to attend. Seats are limited. So let me warn you all. And going back to Annamalai, as you said that Tamil Nadu is a very deeply spiritual country. I went to a retreat in Velagiri, Coimbatore, Sadhguru, and whatever little interaction I had in that period, I did realize that it's a very, very deeply spiritual oriented place. But somehow, as you said, the connect that was not there. Will Annamalai be able to uh, bring in a situation where the efflorescence actually culminates into a situation where they are able to see through the designs of these Dravidian parties?
I think he has a reasonably good chance, Sanjayji. What we have to see is next time the local elections come around, how successful is BJP, say at panchayat level elections or municipal council elections, things of that nature, because that will tell you that their booth strength is for real. That somebody who has been appointed as their booth representative is actually brought in. Because do you know how DMK won the ADMK bastion of Coimbatore in the recently concluded local elections? Did I tell you about that story?
No.
So this was, I think, 4, 5, 6 months ago, and EPS, whose forte, his citadel is the Coimbatore area. It's also called Kongunadu, and he swept. He won almost every seat here. And then Mr. Stalin gives his Sancho Panches the verdict. His name is Sendil Balaji. He says, whatever it takes, you have to get the Coimbatore completely for DMK. And they figured out a way to defeat BJP and ADMK in this mohalla. You know how they did it? What they did was, the election time was up to 5 o'clock, everybody voted. And then from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., it was supposed to be only for those who have been affected by COVID. So the crowd was supposed to be less. What these guys did was, after 5 o'clock, they turned off all the CCTVs in the polling booth. Nobody could see what was going on. And they knew exactly who had not come to vote. And with the full connivance of the state election officials, everybody voted DMK.
Yeah, but that's not possible in assembly election or in a Lok Sabha election. You could possibly do that in a local election, because that is state election commissioner is your man, your nominated man, but you can't handle the Election Commission of India. So that may be a temporary victory at best.
No, which is why I said that once BJP starts winning at the panchayat level and the lower levels, that's when you know that these guys also know how to counter these games.
Right.
That is a challenge. That is a challenge. But even if it's not in 2026, I think BJP is going to start making its presence felt. You can see what is happening in Telangana. Telangana was not expected to net a lot of seats for BJP. In fact, they were thinking 1 or 2. Because Secunderabad, which is the main city, has always been a BJP stronghold. They thought they'll win there, but they won 4 seats in 2019. And now they think that they can win even more. And this happened because there was a groundswell of work that has been done by BJP Karyakartas. When the National Executive Committee meeting took place in Hyderabad recently, I think 2-3 months ago, there were 30,000 people who were picked, 5 from each booth. They had figured out how many booths were there, and this is for Telangana, and 5 representatives came from each booth to be part of that National Executive Council meeting. So they have done that homework. I'm not sure how much of that has been done in Tamil Nadu. If they do that, and then again, genuine people, there is a very good chance, because the people want to vote something different. That's the key.
And that part is also because there is a vacuum. There is a vacuum of
Yes.
leadership, movie leadership, because I do not know the leadership in the movie industry, anybody replacing MGR, Shivaji Ganeshan, or the stature. Rajinikanth aside, or Kamal Hassan being what it is, Kamal Hassan is of course a joke, whatever it is. This brings to a very theoretical question that I have. We do a lot of work on leadership, and we talk about this element that leadership is charisma, and all those things are characteristics, that are adjectives. But we define leadership as somebody who gives a defined and definitive course of action. That is a hallmark of every successful leader. If you go behind understanding, what I'm witnessing about Annamalai, Mr. Annamalai, is that he's taking that course of action. Is that sustainable in a highly emotionally charged environment in Tamil Nadu? That I want to understand from a leadership perspective.
That's a very good question, Vibhuti Ji, because I don't see Annamalai standing up for every Hindu cause. He doesn't stand up for every Hindu cause. He's calibrating very carefully. I'll give you an example, sir. The DMK spokesperson was quoting Periyar, who in a speech in 1973 is supposed to have said that all the Brahmins in TN should be ethnically cleansed. Euphemism for be killed.
Right.
In the 70s, perhaps there were 3% of the population which was Brahmin. Today, it is probably hovering around 1%. And this DMK spokesperson says that, and till today, not a single a BJP politician of Tamil Nadu has said anything against that. It's I who said that, there are two Tambrams in the cabinet at the highest level, Sitaraman and Jaishankar. Even they don't open their mouth. Shame on you. Yeah, you are a minister first. But for someone to blatantly come and say that all Brahmins shall be killed in Tamil Nadu? That to a party state spokesperson? That is crossing a line, sir. And BJP did not say anything. They are yet to say anything. If somebody watches from Tamil Nadu BJP, let them know. It's not that the Brahmins of Tamil Nadu need their help. What I'm trying to say is they are also carefully calibrating everything, when to push, when to stay back. So I don't know if this is a good strategy or not. Many again say that when these two parties are so anti-Hindu and anti-theism, why don't you make that your plank? Isn't it easier to win a vote? Annamalai hasn't done that. So again, see, these are all questions that we can only ask. And after one cycle of elections, only then we can say, well, this was the right approach or not. I hope I answered your question, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. That's perfectly fine, because it's very important to be able to maintain a consistency of stand. And I totally agree with you that when you are so anti-Hindu and anti-Vedic philosophy as well, and you call Vedic philosophy as a superstition, that was the plank these people took. That needs to be
the superstition and Abrahamic religions are all
exactly.
they come from God directly.
Exactly. So that's what my question is, that how does the element of Sri Lankan politics and the Christian conversion in Tamil Nadu conflict with the entire agenda going forward, which is a very opportune time to correct those scenarios?
So what is happening is, remember I told you the math, 10% is 20%. They are looking for the remaining 15 to 20%. And what has been happening is specific sections of the Hindu society, scheduled tribes, scheduled castes, these are the ones that the Christian lobby is actively trying to court and try to convert them. In fact, there is one district called Kanyakumari, the bottom district in India, that is about 55% Christian now, 55%. And along the coastal Tamil Nadu, there is rampant Christianity. Almost all fishermen are Christians, fishermen and women. The families are Christian. So there is a problem. The challenge is, will they be able to do this thing in the time between now and the next election? And if they get that 35%, everybody wants to go after that. There are some other smaller parties who are also wooing the same vote. Because there is now the church community, the genuine Christian, that is what I'm saying, is those who've been Christians for decades, for generations. They are now seeing control of the churches is being taken out of their hands, and it is moving into many of the converted Christian groups. And those guys have a different agenda. Jesus is just a path to power. That's how they see it. So these are all frictions that are happening. When will they say enough is enough? We're not going to vote your way. We're going to vote for Modi ji or somebody who is pro-India. See, that's the other thing. These people keep trying to, make it look like Tamil is an old language. Again, I want to say on this particular hangout, and we talked about this, Sanjay ji, in a previous podcast also. Unless the Tamil-speaking people find a new script, not the one that is existing, that predates this by several years, and say that existed, only then you can claim that Tamil is an oldest language in the world. Anything, you can claim anything you want, but it has to be backed by proof. Until that, you can say it is one of the oldest languages.
Beauty is that in Tamil Nadu, they say that they would not permit Hindi, they do not like Sanskrit, but they happily espouse Urdu.
Phusa chada hua hai sar mein. I mean, all I can say is they're just very hypocritical. मैं बोल रहा हूँ ना, घर के अंदर सब they'll do all part puja, but outside they will not show it. The finance minister skipped a GST meeting, citing that they had Vadagapu, means that chudiyam pehnate hai na, 7th month of pregnancy. So he had to go for that function. So he skipped the GST meeting. That was his bahana.
Wow. Very well, very well.
So you have some namunas.
We can probably go to the questions now, unless Vibhuti ji has something else to ask.
Now, I just wanted to make a comment when he talked about Kanyakumari. I have been there twice, and the first visit was very pleasant. Went to the Vivekananda Memorial, registered there, and they till date, it was 15, 20 years ago, till date, I received birthday greetings from Vivekananda Memorial in time. The second time I went, I was very uncomfortable. As Sree pointed out, I saw a complete transformation of the streets, street corners, restaurants, and places. I didn't feel that I'm in a Hindu area. And there was somewhere along the line, the attempt was to somewhere along the line eliminate Vivekananda Memorial as an event or a place which we could be proud of. That bothered me. I'm sharing with all the people because we need to become aware that, as the saying goes, Purva Paksha, your enemy knows what they are doing. We have been lulled into believing as a lotus eater or Satranj ke khiladi, we are still dreaming of Aman ki Asha, which doesn't exist, truly speaking. So I would urge.
No, we have to recognize all the Mullah Maulanas and all these paders, they are all enemies of Hindus and Hinduism. And they keep trying all kind of antics all the time. Right. The quicker we assimilate that, the better it will be for us.
Right.
Because it is taught there. It is there in the scriptures. There's nothing that you or me can do about it.
That's right.
I mean, it's still written there. So we can't really do anything about it. Okay, so I think time to go to the questions. Audience questions. Before that, please share the video, like the video, subscribe the channel, and of course, please support the channel with your contributions. You can see the screen, and the links that you are seeing on the screens are all there in the description. You can straight click at them and go and support.
And I will also add here, Sanjay ji, quickly, is that while you subscribe to Jaipur Dialogues, also subscribe to JD USA. We are part of the same family. We are doing the same work, and the focus is towards that. So, my pitch on that. Thank you very much.
Prashant Sahani, how to contribute to the Shuddhi cause in India? Well, I think you can contribute to the Shuddhi cause by I can recommend from my side. Of course, there will be many organizations, but uh, there is this organization called Agniveer, which is doing fine work. You can probably contribute to them. They're doing a very fine job of bringing tribals back from the hold of these Cristianos. Next, Shyam Sundar Iyer. Annamalai versus Udayanidhi battle in the next polls. Shree Ji.
So, a good question. Udayanidhi cannot match Annamalai in debating skills. So, he has gone to the other alternative, which is real life. You have real life, which is Annamalai. This guy is trying to take the real life. What he did was, I told you, right? They control the complete movie industry. So, Rajnikant acted in a movie that was financed by these people, and that movie bombed badly. Then there was another politician, star who could become a politician. His name is Joseph Vijay. They made sure that his movie also bombed. And after 3-4 months, they released a movie starring Udayanidhi Stalin. Remember that movie, Article 15,
Mhm.
Kurana?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they remade it into Tamil, and this guy acted the Ayushman Khurrana's role, and they tried to make it a hit. Unfortunately, Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin is very, very limited in terms of his movie acting skills. He has acted in a few movies. I don't think anything has really succeeded. I don't see in Tamil movies, so I can't say this thing with much authority. But this is their way. They want to try and bring in through the real life to see if something will click. I'm sure there are like 4 or 5 movies in the works which they'll try to unleash over the next few months as things lead up to elections to try and see if they can resonate with the people. But Annamalai is such a strong force. I don't think Udayanidhi can stand in front of him. It would be more like I expect that DMK will again break up, just like the way ADMK broke up post Jayalalitha. And then it is, a multi-cornered contest.
No, okay. We can't wait for that to happen.
Sree Iyer. Mr. Gaikwad Rajnikant withdraw from contesting elections abruptly last time. Very suspect. Will he enter now? Will this help Annamalai's progress?
So the story is, and this is something that nobody will confirm, the story is that Rajnikant was making some movies with the same Red Pix or something like that, the name of the movie company that DMK controls. And looks like there was some payment issue. So to try and put pressure on them, he said he's starting a party for the nth time. And once the payments were resolved, so
That's really interesting.
So now if he's again saying that he's going to start a party, you know what the back end reason is.
Great. Next. Yeah. Shivam Gupta, Charan Sparsh Guruji, how can we foresee the development of temple ecosystem in economic and cultural sense, where dance, theaters, music, spiritual discourses flourish in a comprehensive sense?
One of the things that was discussed was what that I told you about the impending FIR, because this Christian lobby and the Muslim lobby, they are scared. If Hindus start going to temple regularly, then there is an inherent Hindutva coming in. And people start getting more connected because you go to announcements and the boards in temples, they say, okay, this day is a special day, I should come again. There's buzz. People start hearing things, and the temple was where the village or the town lived. You take a look at a grand temple called the Brahadishwara temple in Tanjore, it's a masterpiece.
I've been there.
And so on. Yeah, amazing. The temples in Tamil Nadu are just out of the world, sir.
I did a stint in Tamil Nadu as an election observer, and I was based out of Kumbakonam, and that was my temple circuit. So I think must have visited so many temples. Kumbakonam itself had quite a few. It's known as the
Kumbeshwarar. Yeah,
Kumbeshwar. So the Kumbh of South India takes place there. and of course from Chidambaram on the one side, then Kumbakonam, then Bredishwar,
Right.
Srirangam, then Meenakshi.
Right.
So all these temples, then a number of other ones. Because
Yes.
each
Yes.
temple there, it has its own beauty.
So in the temple is where you had discourses, you had dance, you had Veda Patashalas. I mean, today there's nothing preventing someone from offering free Sanskrit lessons. Let's say the person has taken voluntary retirement, he has got a few productive years. Just goes at 7 o'clock in the morning, says, I will teach you Sanskrit. Start by just saying shlokas. I mean, I learned my limited Sanskrit when I was a kid. My dad and mom would say, go learn shlokas from this person. I learned a couple of chapters of Bhagavad Gita. And one of the reasons they said was, you have to learn this chapter. It is Jnana Vijnana Yoga, Saptamodhyaya. Seventh chapter is Jnana Vijnana Yoga. So you learn this thing, you will become an engineer, you will become a doctor, you will become something. So, we learned it and it stayed with me for my life. So some of these things need to come back. And I think they will come back because people now have a genuine reflection and realization that this is something that was incredible that our forefathers did. You can find your answers to any questions in life if you go to a temple. I mean, some of the carvings are very intricate, especially the Brihadrishwara temple. There's an inner thing that you can go in and look at the thing. If you go, they don't allow a lot of people to go in because of fear of contamination. But there's a spiral thing. You can go inside. The Gopuram starts narrowing. You can go in and they depict all the art forms and various passages from Mahabharata, Ramayana, and so on. In fact, in 1967, they found a hidden passageway inside which there is a painting of Rajaraja Chola along with his guru.
Wow.
Sanjay ji, you should be able to go see there. It's not given to everybody, but you will know somebody who will open the door for you.
Well, I've gone to Brihadishwar and I was the election observer there. So I think, but I did not know this. Otherwise, I could have done that even at that time.
It has been around since 67. Yeah.
Please organize it and let us know in advance so we can also take advantage of it.
Okay, we'll talk to Annamalai.
Poonam Abhiji, good to hear from you after a very long time, at least in my case. Thank you.
Where have you been, Poonamji?
I know, I was just wondering about Vedic systems are the superstition, in capitals, from which the Zitians and Shantiduts and West has got their knowledge. To get them replace their fig leaves. Hindus are the only evidence of their truth. That's a beautiful comment, Poonamji. You want to add to that, Sriji?
The meaning of Veda is knowledge. Simple. What Veda means, knowledge. So Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda. Sama Veda, I believe, is for music. Atharva Veda was for, I think, warfare. Again, mota, I'm not that literate in all these things. And then there were the Upanishads, again, another tomes of knowledge. And then they tell you exactly what needs to be done. I have done some research into Taittiriya Upanishad, that's the third Upanishad. In that, the guru is telling the pupil who has graduated from his Gurukul and is about to go outside. So he is telling him what to do and what not to do. So here he says, Matru Devo Bhava, treat your mother like God. Pitru Devo Bhava, treat your father like God. Acharya Devo Bhava, treat your guru like God. Atiti Devo Bhava. So this is the sequence that he says. He also says, very, very simple, Satyam Vada Dharman Chara. Speak the truth, walk down the path of the right. So simple things that are told to us, and these are life lessons that these kids learned before they went out to the world. So and you have what Ayurveda is there. It tells you what is the different ways in which you can get sick. By the way, many things like that all have a connect with 108 number. I don't know how many of you know this, but according to Ayurveda, there are 107 marmas, meaning diseases or ailments. And the last one, 108, is when you have zero marmas. It means you are healthy.
Okay.
It's just incredible what kind of scientific foundation that is beneath this Sanatana Dharma. And we are just, some of us rote marified it. We never stop to think what this really meant. Only now, when I have time and I talk to a lot of specialists, I realize how significant and how scientific it was. I'll give you a simple one, sir. Adi Shankara wrote something called as Vilvashtakam. And here it is, Vilva is a leaf that you use to pray for Lord Shiva. Adi Shankara wrote, Velapattu. Tridalam Triguණakaram Trinetrancha Triyayudham Trijanma Papa Samharam Eka Vilvam Sivarpanam. See the beauty. Everything is starting with three. Trigunam, all three gunas. Triguණakaram, his structure is with three gunas. Trinetram, three eyes. So such beauty has been composed by a man who just lived, I think, 32 years.
Yeah.
Some of Adi Shankara's works are just out of the world.
Especially
and yet how many
his stotras.
Stotras, right.
Bhakti stotras out of this world.
So why are we not learning from all these things? Because it's you take anything, you see the amount of poetry and symmetry that is there in the words. And this came about because it was written in Sanskrit, which is, of course, called the refined language. Sanskrit means a refined language. So it's a beautiful thing. Unfortunately, we have kind of shoved ourselves away from that, never learned it as children. Even those schools like Kendriya Vidyalaya, which were based on Sanskrit, even those have stopped. I heard now teaching, they used to teach even subjects in Sanskrit, like physics and chemistry in Sanskrit at one point of time. I don't know if it is still going on.
I doubt. Next.
Sainath. Without teamwork, good leader, any party can't win. Without teamwork and good leader, any party can't win. You have stated the truth, Sainath. So
yes, absolutely. There's nothing to add there, really.
That's right. Thank you.
Right.
Life rules. Sree Iyer, any recommendation on conversion in Tamil Nadu?
So what is happening now is that at a village level, there is awareness that these people come with an agenda. I have seen a lot of videos. When they come to convert a village, you want to guess how many people come? 600. 10 buses. Bus loads come and descend down the village, street to street, house to house, door to door. They are going and asking, what kind of problems do you have? I mean, you ask the question, they'll give you, the people will pour out their hearts. My grandfather is not well. I'm without a job. My son is not, and they say, have faith in Jesus. He'll solve all your problems. And then they have this scheme whereby they give you some amount of money per family member. And then after that, the money kind of stops. And then you get money only when you bring your relative to convert. It's a very, very effective scheme. I'm sure the FCRA has put a dent in this, which is why you see so much squealing and screaming. The George Panayas making these outrageous statements because they're becoming irrelevant now. But it has to come internally. And also, Tamil Nadu is very casteist also, Vibhuti Jha. See, what they also did, and this is something that is very subtle. They quoted Periyar and they created Brahmin hatred. Because just like what they say in Kashmir Files, right? You need a symbol of hatred. And that symbol became the Brahmin. And actually, they were not going after the Brahmin. They were going after Hinduism. And this is how DMK treats you. And that is the reason, in my opinion, that Annamalai hasn't taken a stand on the statement of the DMK spokesperson that Brahmin should be genocided in Tamil Nadu. Very unfortunate, but those are the rules of the game today.
Next.
Sajayji. Maddie 7485. Thank you, Maddie. Those around Annamalai are making it difficult for the common man to reach out to Annamalai. How will the public perceive him if this continues?
I don't think so. I think he's very, very approachable. There have been other presidents who made themselves scarce. He's working extremely hard. And there are people who may be disgruntled because they may have had some position and they may have lost it, and they may want to try and regain it. See, there are all these equations that happen in Indian politics. If I do this, I have so many votes that I can bring. I'm from this particular community. These people are in the majority in these villages. If you give me a position, I will bring you all these votes, that sort of stuff. So somebody might be trying to come back in, and Annamalai might be keeping them at a safe distance. He has been ambushed many times, and he has always come out unscathed. He knows the tricks of the trade of how people try to demean you and defame you. So I think you have to be patient. They have to try a few times, and I'm sure if their request is genuine, that he will actually meet with them.
Right. Next.
What's the percentage of Christians in Tamil Nadu? See, this is a difficult question to answer because on official records, it's 5%, and so is the Islamic percentage. At least in Islam, when they convert, their name also changes. But in Christianity, they call them crypto-Christians. The name still is Hindu, but the practice of religion changes. And it becomes very, very hard to find out whether the person is a Christian or a Hindu. And many scheduled caste people who convert will be for 5 days Hindu. On Sunday, they'll be Christian. I don't know what they are on Saturdays.
Officially, it's 6.12% Christian and 5.86% Muslim. The Muslim is by and large accurate because there you can't hide. That's the whole problem. Srinivasan Gopalan, I am from Tamil Nadu, though I left the place long ago. I still have my relatives there and I visit them. I agree with Mr. Iyer that Brahmins have been completely sidelined in Tamil Nadu and mocked at every opportunity.
So true. I mean, this is something that is very unfortunate. An actress said that being born as a Brahmin in Tamil Nadu is a curse. And I'm inclined to agree with her. Everybody had to leave. See, I did not grow up in Tamil Nadu. I grew up in Andhra Pradesh, where things weren't this bad. In fact, people didn't know that you were a Brahmin or not. So it was just you were another guy. That was it. And even today, I don't think there is so much discrimination there. Although these things do have a way of coming out, because if it helps a particular group, then they are going to exploit that fault line.
Next. Why Tamil Nadu more amenable for BJP versus rest of Tamil Nadu? I don't understand the question.
Yeah, you may want to tweak your question.
Yes.
Shyam Sarvodaya.
Kongu more amenable for BJP than rest of TN? That's a good question. So Kongu is the belt that is very industrial. In fact, it almost feels like a first world in the sense that you will not cross half a kilometer without seeing 4 or 5 industries. This is the place that starts from Coimbatore. South of Coimbatore is Palakkad, which is Kerala. Coimbatore, Erode, Tirupur, all the way up to Salem. There are 5 or 6 districts. These are collectively called Kongu Nadu, and the industrialization is very, very high, and high per capita GDP, per capita income, very prosperous because they've had industries. Coimbatore used to be a big cotton manufacturing place. Now it has kind of gotten down a little bit. Tirupur is still one of the most popular, most sought after, underwear, vests, bunions, t-shirts, all sorts of upper wear.